Hey everybody, this is the devotional for the Valor Men's Ministry for February 2026. Um, my name's Tim. I'm a member of the men's ministry team here.
Hi,
Sitting
my
next to me.
name's Mike. Sitting next to Tim is Nate, and I also am part of the men's ministry team.
Great. So
That was
in this
fantastic.
devotional, we're going to be looking at Mark 1, verses 35 to 39. Do you want me to read that, Nate, or do you want to take control of that?
Well, I'll read it,
Okay.
and then you can start the commentary.
Okay.
So, we're reading from the net. But,
I have the net as well. Yeah.
Oh, good. Then Jesus got up early in the morning when it was still very dark, departed, and went out to a deserted place, and there he spent time in prayer. Simon and his companions searched for him. When they found him, they said, "Everyone is looking for you." He replied, "Let us go elsewhere, into the surrounding villages, so that I can preach there too. For that is what I came out here to do." So he went into all of Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and casting out demons.
Yeah. So, what we can immediately draw from these verses is the intentionality um through which Jesus really went through his ministry. And I think it's interesting. I can open up some notes here on the net version, and where he says in verse 38, "For this is what I came out here to do." The original Greek is translated, "Because for this purpose I have come forth." And so this is kind of, these verses really, the word that comes to mind is purpose. At least for me. Living an intentional and a purposeful life. What do you think about that?
I think there's a lot of ways to describe Jesus and his life, and
Certainly.
purposeful and with intent is on the top of the list,
Yeah.
for sure. He was a man on a mission.
Certainly. So, as a follower of Christ, Nate, as a Christian, what does a purposeful life look like to you?
Well, the easiest way to answer that is to follow Jesus and to do what he did. He came here and set the example for us. And as you read through his scriptures, the Gospels, verse 35 is repeated over and over again. He gets up, he gets away from everybody, and he spends time in prayer. I'm pretty sure he's not spending like 5 minutes, waking up and praying. I think he's spending a lot of time
Long periods,
in
yeah.
communion with the Father. And he didn't do that. He did that, of course, to be in constant communion with the Father, but he also did it as an example to us, I believe.
Absolutely. I agree.
And a life of prayer, and constant, pray without ceasing, constantly being in communion with the Father is where it's at.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I get out of this passage.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too that, Jesus was just constantly on the move. He was constantly on the go. He was constantly doing things. But it says here, he got up early in the morning while it was still very dark,
Yep.
because it seems like that was the only time he was going to have. And that's also a very intentional thing, because, you and I can certainly say, like, "Oh, I'm so busy, how do I squeeze,"
Right.
and it's not about squeezing it in.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say it that way, but,
Right.
sometimes I know that for myself, I can get out of bed and it's just like, go, 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 go,
Right.
and
Right. Hit the ground running.
and
Yeah.
the intentionality here is very important. Is we need to be very intentional in our walk with Christ, and in all that we do, really. I mean, as men, as leaders of the household, intentionality is so important.
Yeah. Well, we could spend a lot of time on that. The fact that he put it first in the day is also significant. And yeah, he was, later on in the verse, he's like, "Hey, I came here to preach, and I came here to heal, and so I got all this stuff to do. First things first, I'm going to get with the Father." So he made that the priority, the very first thing he did. And I think if at all possible, that needs to be the first thing we do as well. Set the tone for the day.
Agreed.
Remind yourself, what you're doing here. You serve the King.
Sure.
And he wants a relationship with you, and it's not a one-way thing. So
yeah, and that can be something that I know that I struggle with that, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be. You talked about earlier about pray without ceasing. It doesn't have to necessarily be you going off into a quiet place for a lengthy amount of time, right? But just waking up and just saying, Lord, thank you for this day.
Yeah.
And kind of getting a move on. And then throughout the day, as you maybe recognize the Lord's presence or you're struggling with something, just saying those quick prayers throughout the day, pray without ceasing.
Yep.
I think that's really very important. It's not just about, hey, I've got to go do this thing for 20 minutes.
Right.
Or for some big chunk of time, necessarily. I mean, that might work for some people, but and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think praying throughout the day, being intentional about that is kind of what it's all about.
Right. Yeah. One of the other things that I thought was kind of funny in this passage is they found him, they tracked him down. They're like, where'd Jesus go? And I kind of feel like he did that a lot. And they're like, hey, everybody's looking for you. And that kind of reminded me of when he was a young man, and his parents took him to the temple, and then they're like, 3 days later on the way back home, and like, where's Jesus? And it's like, you should have known. I'm going to be with the Father. This is where I am. This is where I always want to be. So that's the character of Christ, and the character that we want to copy or
Emulate.
Right, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yep. What else do we want to touch on here? I think we're getting short on time, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, just to me, the last thing in this very short verse is, his man on a mission. He came here to, he came to set the tone. It's like, this is me. I'm gonna go heal a bunch of people and prove who I am, and then here's my message. So, but he didn't allow all the revelry around him. That wasn't his mission. And so when things got too hot or people were like really wanted him, he's like, let's move on. Let's go hit up these, So, man on a mission. Maybe that's the summary of it.
Man on a mission. Yeah. It's a good summary.
Thanks. Anything else?
No.
All right.
No, I don't think so.
We could spend a lot of time on this.
We
but
certainly could.
That's all we have for you. All right, fellas.